Good morning, All Souls Community Church. Today's Wednesday, August the 18th, and I come to you this morning with a word of encouragement specifically for our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan. For those of you who've been praying with us for the persecuted church there as the Taliban has taken over that country, we are so grateful, and I want to encourage you that the Lord is hearing our prayers, but want to also encourage you to please keep praying. But specifically this morning, my hope is that this message of encouragement can find its way to the ears and to the eyes of those who are actually suffering, one way or the other, that the Lord would bring this, because I believe He put it on my heart and in front of my eyes this morning, and is what He's challenged me to pray for and with our brothers and sisters there. And I want to encourage you to please do that with me. If you are one who finds themselves in the middle of conflict right now, being persecuted, scared about who might be knocking on your door, these are the reports that we've received, that the Taliban are going door to door in Afghanistan and asking for the Christians, that they're confiscating their automobiles and their houses and their possessions, that they're taking their daughters, and that in certain cases they're also taking their lives, and that all who are Christian in Afghanistan are afraid that they're going to lose their lives. And if that's you, can I just tell you that we are with you, that we are so sorry that this is happening right now. But I want you to remember a couple of things that the Lord has put on my heart to share with you. One is, this is nothing new. Two is, you're not alone. Nothing new that can sound like that's making light of your trials, and it's not meant to be that way. It's meant to encourage you to realize that our enemy has always used the same tactic, and it's not a surprise to our God. In Acts chapter 9, it says that Saul of Tarshish was actually breathing out threats, going door to door, going from city to city, arresting with political and religious authority, arresting those who are believers, followers of the way, believers in Jesus. And he was doing things as horrible as stoning to death, like Stephen just 2 chapters earlier. This is not new, this way of persecution. It's not new. It doesn't make it easy. But what it does mean is that our God has been in the middle of it. He's been using it for His purposes from the beginning. We see that in Acts chapter 7 when Saul and his gang of ruffians go and they literally stone Stephen to death. And what's that picture? What's that story there? But Stephen, as he is being stoned to death, he sees the heavens open up. He sees Jesus standing at the right hand of God at the throne, standing on his behalf as his advocate, standing for Stephen. And Stephen dies with the glory of the Lord on his face. And I want you to know that that has been one of my prayers for you. That if today is the day that you have to face your persecutors, even to the point of death, that you will know the glory of Jesus and His presence like you've never known before. My prayer has also ever been that you wouldn't have to face that today, that God would spare you, and that God would do what He's in the habit of doing, which is exactly what He did with Saul of Tarshish. Because 2 chapters later, just a few days later, as Saul is going and he's on his way to Damascus because he wants to continue to do to others what he did to Stephen. It says that Jesus Himself, the risen Christ, confronts him on the road and knocks him off his high horse. Saul thinks what he's doing is righteous. He thinks what he's doing is good. He thinks what he's doing pleases God. And in no uncertain terms was he wrong. And Jesus shows him that by knocking him off his high horse, literally onto his back, and says, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And I want you to hear there the words of your Jesus saying that He has so united Himself to you that as you suffer, He suffers. That you share in His overall suffering, that He suffered for the world, and that as you share in His suffering, you will also share in His glory. But please don't miss this. Realize what Jesus did in confronting Saul. He didn't just have His way with the persecutor. He literally changed the heart of the enemy to the heart of a friend, the heart of a brother or sister. Because who does Saul become but Paul? The greatest church planter in the history of the church, the one who wrote most of the New Testament, the one who began to understand who this Jesus actually is because of that confrontation. And so what I'm praying, what I'm asking and urging all of us to pray, is that there will be many Saul to Paul conversions, that the Taliban will come to know Jesus, that the Taliban will come to know Jesus, that the man in white that so many in the Muslim world have had dreams and visions about will come to visit the Taliban, even today, even now, and that they will come to know that the one that they are persecuting is the living God, the one who came to love them, to suffer for them, to seek and save them, even when they were still his enemies, just like us. For friends, that same Saul who became Paul then wrote later in his life to the church in Corinth. He says, we have this treasure, Christ, in us. We have this treasure in jars of clay, so that the entire world can see that this all-surpassing glory belongs to him and not to us. He says, we are afflicted, but not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. We are persecuted, but not abandoned. We are struck down, but not destroyed. Always carrying around in us the death of Christ, so that the life of Christ might spring forth for all to see. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we're wasting away, inwardly we're being renewed day by day, for these light and momentary trials are preparing for us an eternal weight of glory that far surpasses them all. Beloved, these trials don't feel light, nor do they feel momentary. But when you compare them to the glory that has been won for you in Jesus, and that you are storing up through your sharing in his sufferings, know this, that they are light and momentary compared to that glory, the weight and the massive stature of that glory. That's what is being prepared for you. Beloveds, I also want you to know that because you have been suffering in this way, in these jars of clay, the rest of the world and the rest of us, your family in Jesus, we see him in you. We see his glory. We're inspired and encouraged and blown away by your courage, by the courage of Christ flowing through your veins, by the testimonies that we continue to hear of how you are refusing to deny your Jesus, how you are standing firm and loving even your enemies up to the very end. Don't stop. Don't stop. The world is watching. We are watching, and we are with you. And more than that, he is with you. May you know his glory and feel his power and love flowing through your veins to the overflow. May you be filled with the fullness of God even today. That is our prayer, and we won't stop praying it. Beloved, you are not alone. You are persecuted but not abandoned. And even if you are struck down, you still win. You've already won. For what can man do to me when God is for me? Well, that is our prayer. That is our heart. And I want you to hear the heart of God for you, because it's all been written 2,000 years ago for them and for us. Our prayers won't stop. Our prayers won't stop. God, be close. We love you.